Hey guys, Jim here. Welcome back once again. Thank you as always for joining me. It's my great pleasure to be out here with you, sharing our love of watches together. Today, we're going to take a look at something that I'm extremely excited about. This is a very exciting brand. I've had a chance one time before to bring out one of their watches, the MS1001 from Mechanical Exploration, or MECEXP. And today, I get to bring out the titanium version. Now, truth be told, I've had my stainless steel one now for a little over a month, and I've had the titanium version for about 3 weeks. And I've had a chance to wear them both and make the comparisons and draw my own conclusions as to which one I prefer. I will tell you this, there is no clear, defined winner between the two because they're both very similar in what they do, obviously. It's just the materials that are different, but the materials are more than just, okay, we made a little bit larger, a lighter weight, a hypoallergenic, non-corrosive version of this watch. They changed a couple of parts of the execution, but the watch comes alive in a different way. It's much more vocal. There's a lot more feedback with the titanium version than there is with the stainless steel. And only you can decide for yourself if that's something that you want or not. You might like the understated, quieter stainless steel version, or you might like the bolder, slightly louder, all titanium version. So what I've done is I've talked to Jason. I've gone back and forth with him about a few things, asked him a few questions, and then I've come up with my own theories as to why I like one a little more than the other. And now it's time to lay all of that out and see for yourselves where you land. And I kind of want to know. So hit up the comments section down below and let me know after you've seen them both side by side and see how they both operate. Do you think you would rather have the steel or the titanium, and why? Could be a good discussion.
I want something different, not the typical watch. I need uniqueness, gotta take it up a notch. Everyone knows time is shown with hands, but that's so boring. I've got bigger demands, and let's up that game. Do it up in titanium, let's start with the case. I think that's fair, gonna need a different shape, like rectangular. Not too big on my wrist, let's not get crazy. Give me sapphire, not your glass, that's hazy. That titanium case echoes the sounds inside, making every passing minute a crazy joyride. Click, click, boom, boom. Got that linear flyback, watch that time climb up, then watch as it drops back. Working that pole like that girl that you know. She's got daddy issues, but you're sure it's love though. Climbing up like Donkey Kong and Mario, up and down all day repeating the scenario. The lights inside are blindingly bright, so when you read the time, it'll always be right. In the dark or the day, you hear the time click away. The metallic clink, the hours, minutes insane. No battery to replace, magnetic charger snaps in place, keeping you on the go, so every day you will know that you're good to go. And in the dark it'll glow. Time to get me one, let's go. You hear the time click away, the metallic clink, the hours and minutes and sync. No battery to replace, magnetic charger snaps in place, keeping you on the go, so every day you will know that you're good to go. And in the dark it'll glow. Time to get me one, let's go.
Oh yeah, super exciting stuff, man. In case you can't tell, I'm a little bit excited to be out here sharing this with you. I think that these watches are absolutely fantastic. I am madly in love with my black PVD version. It's actually kind of hard to get me to take it off to put any of my other watches on, and I've got a lot of really great watches. But this one's just so different and so unique. Now, the upcharge is only a $50 premium to upgrade from the steel to the titanium. So if you've been looking at the MECEXPs, These are $350. These are $400. So it's a $50 difference. Now think about how many brands are out there that have jumped on the titanium bandwagon and charge an incredible premium to get into titanium. It's a $50 difference. I mean, that's fantastic. Now, I don't want to get off too much on pricing because this isn't an ad for a MECEXP. I'm not here to sell you on them. I'm just here to present why I think they're so amazing. Like I said in the intro, I've always kind of been a mechanical snob, and I tend to buy based on that. I'm not saying I don't buy quartz watches. I most certainly do, but it's going to be something about it being very strong on the aesthetic side. And even then, once that shine wears off for me, I go right back to my mechanicals. But here with this, I got to tell you, man, it just hasn't gotten old yet. And for me, that's nuts because it usually, no matter what I buy, that immediate love dies off within a week or two. I'll still like and appreciate that new acquisition, but I won't be gaga over it. I won't be constantly looking at my wrist all day long, but I still do with this. Now, if you're looking for a real side-by-side as far as what the differences are, the size is the first difference, but it's not major. They call this a 48 millimeter. They call this a 50. It's almost no difference at all. Now, you don't really feel it on the wrist because the titanium is lighter in weight. So it's kind of a wash. The thickness is the same at 14.5 millimeters. You've still got the same sapphire windows, the twin sapphire windows. The same fluoro rubber strap, same movement inside, and the same operation. Now, since I didn't buy the standard steel version, I bought the PVD. I wanted that because I wanted the toxic green for the numerals. I don't remember how the numerals were done on the plain stainless steel versions. I don't know if they're the same as the way this one is done, or if they made a big difference jumping to the titanium where they changed the numerals as well. Now, I'll double check the website before I upload this, and I'll put some graphic up here on the screen that validates one or the other. I also talked to Jason about a few things just to give you guys more of a behind-the-scenes insight and a little more to be excited about for the future. Jason has a lot of experience making watches with what we would call traditional mechanical movements, and he wants to explore more with the unique movements before he introduces any traditional types of movements into his brand. So expect to see more wild executions and totally unique in-house movements in his future models. Now, he's already got future models planned for. It's not going to end with the MS-1001. They are going to be continuing on. They prefer to call their movements electromechanical because they feel that's more accurate to what they are instead of just saying quartz movement. Because if you just say quartz movement, that covers the whole gamut of the millions of watches that are out there at all times that are just battery operated movements. This is something entirely different. Now, if you didn't watch my original review, I want you to pay attention to how this operates. I'm going to go ahead and put this into chronograph mode so that we can see a little bit more rapid movement of everything. What you've got here is a twisted rod. So it's basically threaded. Think of like a CNC router or something like that. They actually call this a CNC drive motor inside. And what it's doing is it's holding this indicator. And that indicator rides up each of those threads as this rod rotates. And it rotates a percentage of a revolution, in this case, every second while I'm doing the chronograph function, but typically every minute and every hour. So here, when it reaches the top, it immediately drops back to begin counting again. And that's what they call a linear flyback. Now, when that dropped down, it started counting again. That moved up one tick for the first minute. I'll go ahead and stop it. We'll bring it back to the time mode. And we see that it is 12. Is it 1240, 1239, 1240? So very simple to read the time. Your hour is indicated here, which is 12. And then your minutes are indicated here, which is 40. There'll be a red mark next to the 5 minutes indications and the 4 hash marks in between, so you can keep an accurate time. So you know if it's like now it's 1241 because it just moved to that one click. Over here is going to be your power reserve indicator. So again, to get into a chronograph, it's 1, 2, 3 quick clicks. Click to start the chronograph. Now listen to this. I love that mechanical operating sound that this has. Now, both of them, the steel and the titanium, have that, but the titanium is louder. And I'm assuming it's just because the material they're using here is not as thick as the steel case, because it probably doesn't need to be. Now, I'm going to do the same thing here with my steel version so that you can hear the difference in how loud these are. So go back into chronograph, 1, 2, 3. Okay, here we go. So hopefully you're able to hear a difference. It may not be that noticeable because I've got both of them right up against a microphone here, but I can tell you this, in real life, there is a noticeable difference. Not enough to where this is annoying, unless, small sounds throughout the day bother you, then maybe it will be. But I will say this, if you want more feedback from your watch, you like that kind of interaction between you and the watch, you're going to want the titanium. If you want it to be a bit more subtle and a bit more muted, but you'll still hear those mechanical sounds, then go for the stainless steel. Now, the biggest difference for me, because mine is the PVD, so I have the brightly colored luminescent numerals. This in the titanium does not. They are actually individually applied blocks. So the 6 is one applied block, the 0 is another applied block, so on and so forth. So those are all metallic. They have a nice brushed finish to them. And it definitely adds to the cool cyberpunk look of the overall watch. Now again, I'm still a major fan of my black and green. That's why I chose that when I bought it. But I like this look as well. Now, I'm also a knife collector. So many things in my life are made of titanium that this falls right into my collection perfectly. So I do like this kind of monochromatic look as well. So just like the original, the backlight is going to be blue. If your battery is going dead, you're going to see red in here. So your LEDs will be red. So I suppose it's important to see this on the wrist to get a good idea of how it's going to look. Now, as I mentioned, it's only the tiniest bit larger. So it's still not overwhelming on the wrist at all. For me, the end of the lugs are still sitting on the inside of my wrist bone. So not overhanging or anything. I've got just under an 8-inch wrist. So if you've got a big wrist, this is super easy to carry off. But I would say even if you had a 7-inch wrist, you're in good shape. Now, if you have a little tiny little baby wrist, I can't speak to that. But definitely 7-inch wrist and above, no problems whatsoever. Maybe that 6 to 7-inch might be better served in the stainless steel. But again, because it's narrow, I don't really, and it's got almost no lugs to it, I really don't think it's going to be an issue for anyone. Give you that comparison to the original here once again. Now, if you think that that looks significantly better size-wise, then stick with the stainless steel and save yourself $50. Now, as far as how they wear, I mean, you're really not going to notice much of a weight difference. The benefits on having titanium over steel are generally that it's about 30% more lightweight, that it's completely impervious to the elements. It cannot rust, it cannot corrode. It's also completely hypoallergenic, so nothing coming in contact with your skin can cause any sort of rash or any allergic reaction. So that's generally why people want titanium in a watch. But here, the weight really isn't a significant factor, in my opinion. It changes the acoustics of the watch, so you have to appreciate that mechanical sound of how this movement operates. And you'd have to want to hear that. And if you don't, then you're going to stick with the steel and you're going to be perfectly happy because they both do the same things. They both look just as cool. I like this because it is just a tiny bit larger, and I like larger watches, but I don't want anything clownishly big. You're getting the same in-house movement built into each one. And realize this is the only way on Earth that you can have this movement and this display of time. Nobody else can do this. All right. When it comes down to it, do I have a favorite? No. And that's difficult for me to say because generally, I don't have much of a hard time choosing between one or the other on anything. Yes, they're very, very similar, but they're just different enough that there are days that I prefer to wear one over the other. But I can't say that I would keep one and get rid of one with no worries because it would bother me not having both. They're both fantastic. I do like the slightly larger size of the titanium. I do like the monochromatic look when the time is right. And I love how when the light hits those numerals just right, let me move my boom light. We don't want to get a bunch of reflections, but right before reflections start hitting off the sapphire windows, those numerals just kind of light up in the light. It's fantastic. There's a good example. So they kind of disappear there, and then boom, here they are popping in. I love that. Now, that's something this one doesn't do. But this one will glow at night without having to hit the backlight, and this one won't. So there's a give and take. This has more pop and contrast. This is much more subtle in how it looks. This is more subtle in how it sounds. This is not. So yeah, they really do have different personalities, even though it's the same exact design, the same milling on the case, the same signatures, the same movement, the same layout, the same everything. but that different material just changes things up a little bit. And I think that by itself makes it worthy of having the second one if you love your first one so much that you just have to have more, or you can't wait for the next big offering. Do it. If you're looking at buying your first one, I wouldn't say buy one of each. That's a lot of money to spend all at once. If you're trying to decide between the two, you figure out where your priorities lie based on the comparison that I made. Now, one thing I do want to talk about very quickly is something else I talked to Jason about. It was about the battery lifespan. Because people have reached out and asked if I was concerned about the battery, since it was a proprietary, non-user serviceable kind of battery. So when I asked Jason about it, he said the lifespan of the battery should be about 5 years at optimum power before it starts to degrade. So that's basically like all of our cell phones and tablets and smartwatches and all that. That's about the lifespan is 3 to 5 years. But it's at that point, it will still work. So it's up to you if you want to send the watch in for them to replace the battery, or if you want to contact them and they will send the battery to you to have your local watchmaker replace. So no, this is not a disposable watch by any means. Just like any other quartz watch, it will need a battery change at some point. Except this one, it's every 5 years. And you're recharging it constantly on your own by your bedside. So yeah, if you were having a concern, like many of us do when we're buying a flashlight, a lot of flashlights have these internal built proprietary batteries that you can't take out to charge and you can't take out to swap. And you know, however much I spent on that flashlight, that's going in the garbage in a few years. This is not. Either you're going to have MECEXP replace the battery for you, or they're going to send you the battery, one of the two. So you're covered in either event. Anyway, that's my look at the all titanium MS001 from Mechanical Exploration, one of my favorite new innovative brands, and I cannot wait to see what they come up with next, because I promise you, it's going to be exciting, and I'm going to be on top of it. Until next time, I'll see you on the next video.